Hello children, I hope all are fine. I welcome you all to the video session of English Supplementary Reader. The first unit is about a play, The Tempest, written by the famous author William Shakespeare. View this video carefully and capsize everything in your mind. Now, let's move on to the video session. Let me speak a few words about the author William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. He was an English poet, playwright and actor, widely regarded as both the greatest writer in the English language and the world's preeminent dramatist. His surviving body of work includes 37 plays, 154 sonnets and 2 narrative poems, the majority of which he penned between 1589 and 1613. The play, The Tempest, was written between 1610 and 1611. Many critics and historians believe it to be one of the last plays of William Shakespeare. It is considered as one of Shakespeare's well-written plays. It is believed that the play, The Tempest, was based on an actual wreck of a ship called Sea Venture of Bermuda that was headed to Virginia. There is a strong evidence that Shakespeare used elements of the story of the wreck. Let's move on to the characters of this play. Prospero, an old man. Miranda, the daughter of Prospero. Ariel, the chief of all the spirits. Caliban, the son of a witch called Sycorax. Antonio, the brother of Prospero. Ferdinand, the son of the king of Naples. There was an island in the sea, the only inhabitants of which were an old man named Prospero and his daughter Miranda, a very beautiful young lady. She came to this island so young that she had no memory of having seen any other human face than her father's. They lived in a cave made out of a rock. It was divided into several apartments, one of which Prospero called his study. There he kept his books, which chiefly treated of magic. By virtue of his art, he had released many good spirits from a witch called Sycorax, who had them imprisoned in the bodies of large trees. These gentle spirits were ever after obedient to the will of Prospero. Of these, Ariel was the chief. Ariel took rather too much pleasure in tormenting an ugly monster called Caliban because he was the son of his old enemy Sycorax. Caliban was employed like a slave to fetch wood and do the most laborious offices, and Ariel had the charge of compelling him to these services. With the help of these spirits, Prospero could command the winds and the waves of the sea. By his orders, they raised a violent storm, in the midst of which he showed his daughter a fine large ship, which he told her was full of living beings like themselves. Miranda wondered why father had raised that dreadful storm and took pity on these poor souls. She thought that all would perish. Prospero assured the daughter that no harm would be done to any of the members in the ship and nobody will receive any hurt. He said that he is doing all this in care of her. Prospero said that 12 years ago he was Duke of Milan and she was a princess and his only heir. He had a younger brother whose name was Antonio, to whom he had trusted everything. His brother Antonio was in possession of his power and began to think himself the duke indeed. The opportunity given to him awakened in his bad nature a proud ambition to deprive Prospero of his dukedom with the aid of the king of Naples, a powerful prince who was his enemy. Antonio carried Prospero and his daughter on board a ship, and when they were some leagues out at sea, he forced them into a small boat without either tackle, sail, or mast. There he left them as he thought to perish. But a kind lord of his court, one Gonzalo, who loved him, had privately placed in the boat water, provisions, apparel, and some books which Prospero prized above his dukedom. Their food lasted till they landed on that desert island. Miranda asked her father the reason for raising that sea storm. Her father said that by means of that storm, his enemies, the king of Naples and his cruel brother, were cast ashore upon that island. Having so said, Prospero gently touched his daughter with his magic wand, and she fell fast asleep. For the spirit Ariel just then presented himself before his master to give an account of the tempest, and how he had disposed of the ship's company. And though the spirits were always invisible to Miranda, Prospero did not choose she should hear him holding conversation with the empty air. Ariel gave a lively description of the storm and of the terrors of the mariners, and how the king's son Ferdinand was the first who leaped into the sea, and his father thought he saw his dear son swallowed up by the waves and lost. But he was safe in a corner of the isle, sadly lamenting the loss of the king, his father. Prospero wanted Ariel to bring Ferdinand because he wanted his daughter to see the young prince. Ariel left the king and his brother searching for Ferdinand. Of the ship's crew, not one was missing, though each one thought himself the only one saved, and the ship, though invisible to them, was safe in the harbor. Ariel then went to fetch Ferdinand. It led him to Prospero and Miranda, who were sitting under the shade of a large tree. Now Miranda had never seen a man before except her own father. She was in a strange surprise. Father said that he had lost his companions and was wandering about to find them. Miranda, who thought all men had grave faces and grey beards like her father, was delighted with the appearance of that beautiful young prince, and Ferdinand, seeing such a lovely lady in that desert place, and from the strange sounds he had heard, expecting nothing but wonders, thought he was upon an enchanted island, and that Miranda was a goddess of the place, and as such he began to address her. She timidly answered she was no goddess but a simple maid, and was going to give him an account of herself. When Prospero interrupted her, he was well pleased to find they admired each other. But to try Ferdinand's constancy, he resolved to throw some difficulties in their way. Therefore, advancing forward, he addressed the prince with a stern air, telling him he came to the island as a spy to take it from him who was the lord of it. He said that he would tie his neck and feet together. He should drink sea water, shellfish, withered roots, and husks of acorns. Ferdinand resisted and drew his sword, but Prospero, waving his magic wand, fixed him to the spot where he stood, so that he had no power to move. Miranda took pity on Ferdinand and asked her father why he was so ungentle. She requested him to take pity on him, but father would not listen to her. This he did to prove his daughter's constancy. He ordered the prince to obey his orders and said that he had no power to disobey him. Prospero had commanded Ferdinand to pile up some heavy logs of wood. King's son, not being much used to laborious work, Miranda soon after found him almost dying with fatigue. She requested him to take rest for some time, but Ferdinand said he would take rest only after completing his task. She also told him that she would carry his logs the while he rests, but Ferdinand would by no means agree to this. Prospero, who had enjoined Ferdinand this task merely as a trial of his love, was not at his books, as his daughter supposed, but was standing by them, invisible, to overhear what they said. Ferdinand inquired her name, which she told, saying it was against her father's express command. She did so. And then Ferdinand, in a fine long speech, told the innocent Miranda he was heir to the crown of Naples and that she should be his queen. Prospero then appeared before them and said that he had overheard and approved of all what they had said. He told Ferdinand that all his vexations were but trials of his love, and he had nobly stood the test. He offered his daughter as his gift. When Prospero left them, he called his spirit Ariel, who quickly appeared before him. Ariel said he had left them almost out of their senses with fear at the strange things he had caused them to see and hear. When fatigued with wandering about and famished for want of food, he had suddenly set before them a delicious banquet, and then, just as they were going to eat, he appeared visible before them in the shape of a harpy, a voracious monster with kings, and the feast vanished away. Then, to their utter amazement, this seeming harpy spoke to them, reminding them of their cruelty in driving Prospero from his dukedom and leaving him and his infant daughter to perish in the sea. The king of Naples and Antonio, the false brother, repented the injustice they had done to Prospero. Prospero asked Ariel to bring them both. Ariel soon returned with the king Antonio and old Gonzalo. This Gonzalo was the same who had so kindly provided Prospero formerly with books and provisions when his wicked brother left him, as he thought, to perish in an open boat in the sea. Grief and terror had so stupefied their senses that they did not know Prospero. He first discovered himself to the good old Gonzalo, calling him the preserver of his life, and then his brother and the king knew that he was the injured Prospero. Antonio, with the tears and sad words of sorrow and true repentance, implored his brother's forgiveness, and Prospero forgave them. Prospero said to the king of Naples that he had a gift in store for him and showed Ferdinand playing chess with Miranda. Nothing could exceed the joy of the father and the son at this unexpected meeting, for they each thought the other drowned in the storm. The king of Naples was almost as much astonished at the beauty and the excellent graces of the young Miranda as his son had been. He was told that she was the daughter of Prospero, who was the famous Duke of Milan. Prospero told them not to remember their troubles past, since they so happily had ended. Prospero now told them that their ship was safe in the harbor and the sailors all on board her, and that he and his daughter would accompany them home the next morning. Before Prospero left the island, he dismissed Ariel from his service, to the great joy of that lively little spirit. Thus, the story ends happily. Prospero pardons Antonio for his disloyalty. The Duke regains his dukedom. His daughter was married to Ferdinand. Let us take a look at the glossary and some of the exercises given in your textbook. View this video and be benefited. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you, children.